Hello, I'm Jerry Noteboom. I'm the Customer Service Manager at Sioux Automation in Sioux Center, Iowa. I take this time to go over our 4000 series wagon with you so that you can see the important parts that need to be serviced and so. And we've had questions from people asking, what to do for this or that. And we thought that we would do a video for you so you can follow through along with the wagon and cover the most important parts, okay? For starters, we'll start with the tires here. As you see on the side here, we got the little decal there for check your lug nuts weekly. It's a good thing to do. You would think that the nuts would stay tight all the time, but we have several times that those things will just work loose even after a month or two. They'll work loose. So just take a socket and check them weekly, and you'll be in good shape. So going to the servicing part, we'll start over here. Underneath here, we've got 3 bearings on this 4500. They're flange jet bearings that need to be greased. There's one here, one in the middle, and then one toward back by the planetary. You want to make sure that you grease them. Say it depends on how much you use, how long you feed each day and everything. But if you do it once a week, something like that would be real good. Coming back here to the planetary, this is critical because this planetary is really expensive and oil is cheap. There's a fill hole up on the top, and there's a little breather in there. It's really tucked up underneath it, so you really can't see it. I can feel it, but it's hard to see. And then on the other side of this, 180 across, there's a sight glass on that side. You would take that sight glass out, and in the bottom, right down here, is the plug to drain. Okay, you take that out and drain the oil all the way out. And what I would do, no different than a vehicle, just leave it drip for a while, get it all out. When you're done with that, put the plug back in, and you put your oil back in from the top. You can come out, you can put it in through the sight glass hole too, but you're going to end up having to top it off up at the top because you'll fill it up till it comes out the side hole, and when it does stop, then do something else for 15-20 minutes, a half hour, to let the oil settle itself down level in the planetary, and then top it off again, and then put the sight glass back in and put your top breather back in the planetary. And this like I said, this is really critical because this is an expensive unit, and you would want to change the oil once a year would be good. That would be sufficient. And what we do is we put 80-90 synthetic oil in the planetary. If you would say you would change it twice a year, you could get by with just straight 80-90 oil. But the reason that we put 629 is because typically when somebody calls and they have a problem with their planetary, you ask them when they changed the oil last, and you get a pause, then you know that they've never changed it. So this is very critical to do, to change the oil in there. Now I'll go back to the oil bath in the back here. We'll open one door here at a time. In here, what you want to be checking, make sure that your chains are tight, and all they need to be tightened to take the slack out. And after you do adjust them, then it would be good to open up the door when you have a load on so that the chains are tight, and then see how they are. Maybe you have to snug them up just a little bit more because when you got a load on, it really puts tension on the chain, and there's going to be slack that comes on the back side. And they're really pretty simple. It's just a turnbuckle here. You take the lock nut loose here and turn it clockwise to tighten it, counterclockwise to take it loose. So it's pretty simple, and just get so that your chains are snug. Like any piece of equipment, it's basically changing the same. In the bottom of the oil bath here, we have oil in the bottom, and you want to have the oil just catching the bottom chains. That's sufficient, because then as it's running, and so the rest of the chains will get lubed off of those two. So you have 2 tighteners in here. You got one here And you got one right down here that controls the main drive chain on the right-hand auger. On this side, yeah, basically the same thing. Got the tightener here, and there's a tightener right down here for this one, pulling up on it. Again, you can see the oil is just up to the chains in the bottom there to keep everything lubed in the back end. When you do grease the wagon, I tell the customers to make sure that they run it, because there's plastic bearings in the back here and there's plastic bearings in the front. We do not have any ball bearings on the augers themselves, and the reason that we did that is because prior to these we had ball bearings in the back, and with all the ethanol plants and so that are around feeding serpentine, the SERP was getting in the bearings, and within 6 months they'd go out because the SERP is hot and it's corrosive. So we went to plastic bearings instead. So you want to make sure that when you're greasing, have it turning so that as you're pumping the grease in, that is lubing up the shaft all the way around, because grease will take the path of least resistance, and if it just shoots out the side, you're not going to get the rest of the shaft. So do it while it's turning. All right, in here, if you get down here, you'll see the sight glass right on the side of the planetary, right down there. And that's where you want to have the oil come out, and then leave it sit, and then top it off again until it comes out, and then put the sight glass back in, and then probably, I don't know, put another pint in or something so that you can see oil in the sight glass. There's a cylinder to run the discharge door up and down. We got a needle valve on here that you can adjust the speed of it, how fast you want to have the door going up and down. Because with new tractors now, got a lot of hydraulic flow, and so that this thing can really snap up and down, and you don't need to have it going that fast. So to your liking, you can adjust the needle valve here to set the speed for how fast your door goes up and down. On the discharge here, down in the bottom back here, there's bearings in the bottom, and on the back side of the discharge, there's bearings also, and they're flange bearings that you got to get on the Zerks to get them greased, and then just check your chains in the back underneath. There's 3 chains underneath there that run the augers, and so you can always shoot some oil on them or something once in a while, because a lot of times when they come in and they're bad, they're really dry, just grindy dry. You know, that if you shoot some oil on them once in a while would make them last a lot longer and wouldn't wear as bad. Same way with the sprockets. Here's in the front, I was talking about the plastic bearings. We have 4 of them in the front here also. There again, make sure that the box is turning when you're greasing them, because your plastic bearings are gonna last a lot longer, because you're getting grease all the way around the shaft and in the bearings, and they're not gonna run dry. And we've had even some that would start squeaking because they were so dry. So that's a big thing to watch for. I'm gonna show you the PTO here now, and a little something that we had found out. I'll take this apart here a minute. I want to show you the correct way to grease these CV, this constant velocity PTOs. On these PTOs, it's got a little red tab right down here. All you do is pop that open and take a screwdriver. All right, we got the star out of there, and the whole CV will pull right out of the PTO. It's really a slick, easy, it's about the easiest CV PTO shield that's made. Now, one thing I want to point out in here, this would be the easiest way to make sure that your shaft is greased good also. You want to make sure that that this does not run dry, because there's a lot of customers that don't have their tractor, they have their tractors on all the time and hardly ever take them off and don't realize how dry that their PTO, the slipper, is getting. So you want to make sure that there's enough grease on there and on the female that's on the wagon so that they it's always got grease in there, because with electric clutches on tractors and so, and load on the wagon, there's a lot of pressure on them that if it's dry, it's just going to grind on these splines on here, something fierce, and end up ruining your PTO. Plus, it's awful hard on your crosses also because it's pulling back and forth on them. Now, as far as lubricating the CV, I want to point out the amount of zerks that there are. There's one right here in the front on your implement end, on your tractor end, I should say. And there's one right here on the cross. There's one right here on the big center ball in the CV. And what that does, it greases the plates. There's two plates in the inside here that slide past each other, and it greases in there so that they don't get stiff in there. Then you got the zerk right down here for the back cross. And myself included, I was mistaken that I was thinking, well, this must be just another one for this cross. But it's actually not. This is a very critical zerk. This one here, the grease runs in here, and then it runs around a journal around both sides here, and then down through the center of the cross. And in the middle, I don't know if you can see or not, way down in the inside, there's a pin. There's a pin that slips inside of a ball in the end here, and this goes all the way down there and greases the pin on that side and on this side. When you grease this one, don't have your yoke like this or off to the side. It has to be straight, because if you grease it and you fill that all up with grease and you got it like this, you're going to pump in more grease in there than what is supposed to be, and you can't get it straightened out unless you take the zerk out. So they have to be in line with each other when you grease this zerk. And that's a key thing with these CVs, is getting that center pin greased. Along with that, the rest of the wagon is really a simple wagon, and we have very little issue with the wagons. They stand up real good and low maintenance. The big thing is on your discharge that you keep the bearings greased and so. Because everything out of the wagon comes out there, and has to unload the whole wagon every time. So the augers and everything get a lot of work done to them. So you want to make sure that you watch your discharge very good.